My youngest brother, Pat, he's a stockbroker, so he's had a fun year hiding under his desk from old people with firearms. I feel bad for him. And he always tries to help me with money because I'm terrible with it. I've never been good with it. I can't balance a checkbook. I don't care. I lose cash, like a 20 or something. He's like, I cannot believe it. Your age, you are still losing cash. I go, well, believe it. I do. And you don't, Pat. And you know what's sad for you? You know what you're never going to know the joy of? Finding money that you lost from yourself. One of life's smallest, most unexpected pleasures. You put on those summer shorts you haven't had on in 6 months, put your hand in the pot. Oh! $28.
Welcome to Money Unplugged. I'm Chris Hill. Thanks for being here. Let me start with a quick programming note. Next week is Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. It's one of my favorite days of the year. It might even be number one on the list. But I realize for some people, it can be stressful for any number of reasons. Travel being one, family being another. So for anyone who's looking to escape their situation for a few minutes, take a mental break. Next week's episode of the podcast is coming out a day early. It's going to be in your podcast feed on Thursday. So if you just need an excuse to get away from your particular Thanksgiving crowd, tell them you're going for a short walk or a short drive and listen to a new episode of the podcast, and who knows, it might recharge your batteries a little bit. Today on the show, I talk with Adam Felber. He is another one of these people whose career is not defined by a single occupation. He's an actor, an author, a television writer. He's been nominated for 3 primetime Emmy Awards for his work as a writer on Real Time with Bill Maher. But he is probably best known for being a longtime panelist on the very popular radio show and podcast, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. He also co-hosts the podcast Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone. He has a couple of books he's working on. He's got a lot of plates that he's spinning, people. I first met Adam 35 years ago in Boston, and we hit it off right away, in part because he is a very engaging person. He's smart and curious about the world and other people. And even though we hadn't seen each other in like 8 or 10 years, it was like a day had not gone by. And I had a great time talking with him, and I really hope you enjoyed this conversation half as much as I did. So let's get into it with the one and only Adam Felber. Do you have an early memory of money?
Yeah, I had allowances, and that was very important to me. But we had 2 kinds of allowances in my household. We had a money allowance, which was what I would convert to quarters to play video games. And we had a book allowance, 1 book a week.
Any book? Or was it just money?
Any book from the bookstore.
Your mother was a writer.
My mother was a writer, yes. And she thought books were important. And my siblings weren't as avid readers as I was, so I would frequently use their book allowance if I went over my 1 book a week.
I'm not trying to cast any type of judgment on the parenting that happened in your household.
Of course you're not.
I'm not. I'm just reacting in real time to a book a week. A book, like, that's a lot for
I've read
anyone,
a lot.
Much less a kid.
Oh, by the time I was 8, I was easily reading a book a week. And by the time I was 9 or 10, it was, I'd kind of gone through everything I would read in high school and kind of took a step backward into science fiction and fantasy for the next 5 years.
Was money something that was discussed in the home, or was it just sort of like, because we are of basically the same age and the same generation, and that's a generation where you didn't talk about money at the table because it wasn't polite.
It wasn't polite, but when it was discussed in my house, it was discussed in terms of my mother wanting more and my father being very bad at it.
What did your dad do?
My dad was a terrific physician, a hematologist, and he cared about his work more than anything. He was, he wanted to heal people. Didn't like money. Didn't manage it well. Like he had most of his life had zero investments. It would just go into his bank account and he didn't think about it. Whereas his friends were putting together lucrative partnerships and investment groups and, doing what doctors do to become upper middle class.
Were you able to observe, to the best of your recollection, not so much the tension between your parents when it came to money, but thinking about your mother being a writer and presumably having her own level of income? And was that something that was just sort of something that you and your siblings observed as like, well, yeah, there's tension here, but also she has her own income, so that's a release valve?
Not really. I mean, not from an income standpoint, because my mother didn't earn hardly any money as a writer until I was about 15 or 16 years old. She started writing again when we kids were old enough not to accidentally kill ourselves. So 5. And then she started, got back into writing by writing newspaper opinion pieces for the New York Times and Newsday. And then when I was about 8 or 9 years old, she said, I'm going to write 3 books in 3 popular genres: mystery, science fiction, and romance. And whichever one sells, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And with my dad's help, because she gave up and my dad kept sending out her novels, when I was 13 or 14, she sold a romance novel to Signet New American Library. And by the time she passed away, had published something like 30 to 35 novels.
That's an unbelievably logical way to approach writing. And
she wrote them at the kitchen table on a legal pad after we went to sleep every night.
That sounds so arduous. And I'm not just talking. I'm not just talking about what it was probably like to be your parent. Just the handwriting.
No, being my parent must have sucked in its own way, but yeah.
What was the first job you had when you were a kid?
Well, like any kid, it was probably paper route. I mean, I think I was less than 10 when I started delivering penny savers on weekends, and then by 11 or 12, I had an actual newspaper delivery route with the collecting and all that. My first job over a summer was probably at the age of 13 or 14. I was the assistant music counselor at a day camp on Long Island. The music counselor left 3 weeks into the summer, and I was left as a 13-year-old being told by the camp directors, just manage it, make the shows happen, and we'll take care of you when the summer is over. And I was like, wow, I was only going to earn $200, but they're going to take care of me. At the end of the summer, they gave me a check for $200 and said they didn't take taxes out.
So taking care of you involved skirting the law?
Yes. And not giving me hardly any more money than the thousands, I'm sure, that the role that I had taken on as a kid who was barely older than the kids at the camp, should be doing.
Let's move on to college.
Okay.
You go to Tufts University.
I did.
You study English.
And philosophy.
At the time, were you thinking about a career? Or were you just thinking, I'm interested in these topics, these are the topics I'm going to take, and I'll figure out the career part later? Because as prolific a writer as your mother was, it's easy to connect the dots between that and you getting, pursuing a degree in English.
I didn't think I was a writer. I was interested in English. I got into Tufts as an engineer and transferred over to an English major, which was, one in a series of terrible decisions. Just
Wait, can we back up a second? How did you get into Tufts as an engineer?
I had really great math and science scores in school.
So those science fiction novels that you were reading, those paid off.
Yes, but no, I was academically, I did well. And when I was applying to school, I didn't pay a lot of attention. I was like, well, I'm interested in computers. I love video games. Maybe I'll major in computer science. So I checked the box on the Tufts application for the School of Engineering, not realizing that was not the school with the computer science major. So I got to school, and I guess I made things harder on myself because the engineering school is very selective, but I spent a year doing, physics and engineering 101 and that kind of thing. And then I set out for a less lucrative life.
I'm glad you mentioned that it was at least a recognition on your part that you were pursuing a less lucrative life, because there are people who pursue degrees and are very focused on the academics and their passion for that subject. Were there conversations that you had either with your parents or with faculty advisors, that sort of thing, where they were like, hey, you're good at this, you're good at the English and the philosophy, but just so you know, it's not a way to make a big amount of money?
My parents were clear on that with me, but I was going to do what I was going to do. I fell in love, as you know, with improv in college. And by the time I was a senior, I had been asked by ImprovBoston, the professional improv troupe in Boston, to audition. And so before I was out of school, I was a professional improviser, and I thought my career was made. Just made.
I'm thinking about everything you've said and everything I know about your career. And obviously when you're leaving Tufts, there's no way of knowing that, 35 years hence, you will have amassed this career as a writer in all of these different disciplines, as an author, in the field of television, in comic books. You had no way of knowing that.
Right.
And so I'm curious, at what point in your professional life did you start to realize, oh, this is where my career is going, and now I'm actually making some money? And by the way, that is one way to think about it, where it's just sort of like, oh, I'm no longer taking 5 different odd jobs just so I can pay my rent. I actually have this job producing this amount of work, and now I'm making money.
It didn't lead to any great career decisions, but towards the end of the 90s, when I started getting work in children's television, and I was hired to frequently be a panelist on that new NPR show, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, I no longer had to have day jobs, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be a writer-performer of some stripe or another for the rest of my life, because people are paying me to do what I want to do. And, very few people get to do that. So,
because you are a creative person and that is your profession, I'm assuming that there are some opportunities that come along. For example, I touched on this. I don't know what the going rate is for someone to write a comic book series for Marvel, but when that opportunity came along, whatever the money was, I'm assuming that at least part of your thinking was, this is just too fun to pass up.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think I had been at, I was writing full-time for Real Time with Bill Maher when the Marvel opportunity came up. And the money being offered by Marvel was insignificant, but there was no way. My friend, what happened was, a friend who I had done improv with in New York had become a noted comic book editor. He'd gone from DC to Marvel, and he called me one day and he said, I have this crazy idea. Why don't you would you write like a Wolverine for us maybe or something? And I was like, yeah, of course. And then he called back about a week later and he said, I have an even stupider idea. I want to revive an unsuccessful comic book from the 90s that Grant Morrison had written. Would you like to write a 6-book miniseries for us? And I jumped at it. I mean, there was no payoff beyond like, you're getting paid this much per book, but how could you pass it up?
So to what extent does money inform your decision-making process when you are considering different projects? Because on the one hand, there are projects like that where it's Marvel, it's the opportunity to revive something and presumably get a healthy amount of creative license, but it's not going to pay you a ton of money. And on the other hand, I'm assuming that at some point in the last 20, 30 years, you've been offered jobs that were paying a decent amount of money, and you just thought, boy, whether you took them or not, you thought, this isn't really as fulfilling as creating my own comic, but the money is the money.
Yeah, I wish I'd made, I wish I'd made more decisions based on money, because every job in this industry is so temporary. But at some point in around 2007 or 8, we decided to have kids. And I think that's the reason, I know that is the reason why I stayed at HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher for 11 years. Long after it had been a fulfilling job for me, it had become a job for me because we had kids. And, it's not the greatest money in the world. I likened it to a brass parachute. But yeah, I mean, I stayed with that job because it paid really well and gave us health insurance.
Before you and your wife got married, how much did you two talk about money?
Hardly at all. She's an actor, dancer, choreographer. I'm a writer, performer. We're idiots when it comes to money.
But you have the math skills.
Yeah, but not the finance skills. Those are very different things, mathematics and finance.
They are.
One takes diligence and planning, and the other is about concepts. There's no execution needed in math like there is in taking care of your money, which we never did very well.
And yet somehow you managed to sustain a career and raise a couple of kids.
Yeah. I mean, skin of the teeth most of the time, but yeah. I mean, I've had a couple of good moments with money in my life, and it was never my money.
What do you mean by that?
Well, in I think it was 1997. My dad was very ill, and my mom's career was going as it was going, and they were getting older. And I told them that they absolutely had to take what money they had and buy stock in Apple, which was selling for $12 a share. They did not listen to me, but by the time it got to $18 a share and the iMac was introduced, they listened to me. And they bought some, and then they bought a little more. And that move funded the rest of my mom's life. And down payments on mine and my sister's house after my mom passed away. It was kind of big because Apple did pretty well after Steve Jobs returned. I was just a geek who thought Steve Jobs had done amazing things at not just Pixar, but at Next Computing. And I knew he was bringing the bones of his Next experience to Apple. And I thought that was going to be a big deal.
Did you buy shares of Apple yourself?
I did not have the money to buy a single share of Apple. $12 would have been in 1990. No, I could have bought a share or two, but no, I could not have bought Apple for myself. But my parents bought a few $1,000s worth, and that made a very big difference in their lives.
Do you have any other stock tips you want to share? Because that's a pretty great call.
That was a big one. No, nothing right now that I'd be willing to share. But
I mean, there are plenty of people who were fans of Steve Jobs in the 90s. I'm hard pressed to think of anyone who was following his career at Next.
Oh, Next was cool. Next built it. Yes, Next was a very, very cool company. Their computers weren't that great, but the ideas behind them were fantastic. The only other investment idea I ever gave to my parents was when I saw my first ATM machine. I was like, I looked at the bones of it to figure out who makes the parts and gave my parents a list of the companies they needed to invest in, like Diebold tabs and stuff.
Did that work out?
They didn't invest.
How about that stock tip? Telling his parents to buy shares of Apple in the late 1990s? Look, as you heard, Adam is not giving out any more investment ideas, but that's okay, because if you're looking for them, you can just use Ticker. With Ticker, you get access to the same kind of data the Wall Street pros use, but Ticker makes it simple enough for everyday investors like you and me. Just go to Ticker, type in the name of a public company, and you will instantly see years of financials, analyst forecasts, and insider trades, all in one place. And you can try it for free when you go to ticker.com/unplugged. Join the growing crowd of investors across America and around the world that are using Ticker to speed up their research and in the process save money, because this is like using a Bloomberg terminal, only you're not spending $30,000 a year. Ticker gives you an easy way to get investing ideas and learn from the best, because one more way you can use it is to track big name money managers to see what they're buying and selling. Save time and try it for free when you go to ticker.com/unplugged. That's TIKR.com/unplugged. It is the cleanest, easiest way to look deeper into any stock and see what the pros are doing. All right, let's get back to Adam. Let's go to the speed round.
What has this been? Okay.
No, this has been quick, but this is, it's not branded. It hasn't been branded like this.
Yeah. Speed round. Play the theme music.
Yes. I can't afford theme music. This is not one of those highfalutin podcasts like Wait, Don't Tell Me or nobody listens to Paula Poundstone. This is bare bones.
Yeah, I know. We pay through the nose for those needle drops.
What is the thing you have bought that makes you happy?
Oh, wow. Well, first and foremost, my bicycle. I'm not a car guy. I love biking. I use bikes for transportation and exercise, and it's not expensive, but I love it. And you know what? My whole backyard setup, which is essentially my backyard, is essentially a TV room / tiki lounge. That makes me very happy. They do amazing things with LED lights these days.
You had me at tiki lounge.
I can change the color scheme out there like that.
Have you ever made a purchase that you regret, and sometimes you find yourself still thinking about it?
No.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't buy a lot of stuff. When I buy something, I know I want it.
Not even in the 90s? Not even back in the 90s where you think, "What? I'm not making any money. What did I pay $10 for that thing for?"
You know what? I went several $100s. Thank you for prompting me. I went several $100s deep on a mini disc player for myself and for my wife and for my girlfriend then in our home, and made my own mixed mini discs so I could exercise and listen to music. And that was about a year and a half before MP3 players became the thing. So it was a glorious technology that I invested heavily in. It was cumbersome to control. And then I'm looking at people with their iPods and going, damn it.
What is one thing about money that you wish you knew earlier in your life?
You can put some away. You're never really down to zero. There could and should be something. I mean, I have been down to zero, but there could and should be an area where you're just like, I don't touch that, because I'm going to need it later.
Are you talking about saving or investing or both?
Both. I wish I'd invested. I wish I'd saved. I did eventually learn to save a little bit. But, being the career that my wife and I are in, often you have to reach into that for things that your kids need and whatnot. But I think I could have done way better had I taken even the smallest interest in investing.
What is the last thing you splurged on just for yourself, not for your wife or kids or friends, just for you?
Oh, wow. Splurged. Can you define splurge, Chris Hill?
I'm glad you asked, because I believe when people hear the word splurge, they automatically associate a large amount of money. And
yes,
over the last few years in my life, I have become someone who associates splurge more with the last four letters of that word, more with the urge.
I see. Nice.
So to me, yes, splurging, I think there are two definitions. Yes, you can splurge, and it involves spending a very large amount of money. I also think you can splurge on a bagel sandwich because you went into a coffee shop thinking, I'm just here for coffee, and then the urge overtakes you and you think, all right, I wasn't going to. So an unplanned purchase, but just for you. So it doesn't have to involve a lot of money. It could be a bagel sandwich.
There's a great new bagel place out in Burbank that is the place next door to where I grew, the town next door to where I grew up, suddenly is a micro chain, and they opened up a Long Island bagelry in Burbank.
Oh, really?
I went by there for a tuna sandwich. Oh yeah, Boss Bagels.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
Was that the last thing you splurged on?
Probably. No. You know what? It was those LED lights outside. Nobody cares about those but me.
Nice. What is a charitable cause that you like to support?
Our local kids theater. My kids did shows there. I have taught there. My wife has directed there, and they pride themselves on never turning away a kid because they can't afford it. And so that we put together events for them. I love them.
What's the name of it?
I think it's called Village Arts Theater.
Do you have a favorite movie or television series that has money as a through line?
No. Not a favorite. No, absolutely not. Unless you're talking about the bags of gold in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, well, you know what? I'll put in a plug for this. Somebody I went to school with made a show and put some other people I went to school with in the show. So I've watched quite a bit of Billions. Like my old roommate Dave Costable plays Wags in that, and it's a delightful show. I wouldn't call it one of my favorites, but it was pretty darn entertaining.
Is that one of those shows? So a show that has come up a number of times. Billions has come up, I think, once or twice, but Succession has come up a number of times. And I couldn't make it past the first episode because I found all of those people despicable, and I didn't want to spend time with any of them.
You know what? I say same for us, but I have since been told that we were doing it wrong, Chris.
How should we have done it?
That if you view Succession as a comedy, and a wild comedy at that, it becomes delightful.
Oh, so don't treat it as a drama.
And you stop hating the people. Yes.
So I mentioned that because I've never seen Billions, and I do wonder every once in a while I'll get served up an Instagram reel or something like that, and it seems like there is a level of humor that doesn't exist in Succession. Or am I thinking about that wrong as well?
No, Billions is straight up funny in places, and it means to be. And Paul Giamatti's terrific in it. As I said, Dave Costable is. My old friend Kelly Aucoin as Dollar Bill is fantastic in it. It's just it's a fun watch.
The last thing on the show is a penny for your thoughts, and this is just any bit of life wisdom that you've picked up along the way that you want to share with people who are listening. And it doesn't have to be about money. It can be about any topic.
Yeah, it's not going to be anything revolutionary because the best advice that you can ever give anybody is to follow their bliss. Win or lose, pass or fail, doing the things that excite you, that interest you, that keep your mind engaged, pays off in thousands of ways. And many of them are not financial ways. But if at the end of the day you want to go to sleep a happy person, the stuff that you do during the day should be something that pleases you.
When you think about your career, it seems like you have followed your bliss.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and as I've said, there were many ways I think that I could earn more money than I have, but wow, do I love it when I do something that just thrills me with people who are awesome.
There you go. You can hear Adam every week on the hit podcast Nobody Listens to Paula Poundstone. You can hear him on Wait, Don't Tell Me. He's just a smart, fun guy to listen to. And believe me, next year, I'm inviting myself out to California so I can hang out in that tiki lounge. I'm Chris Hill. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next Thursday.